20 years after I vanished, a billionaire CEO heard my voice by accident and dropped everything one crossed wire on a conference line. And suddenly the past was breathing down my neck, you know what I mean. He was my husband, once the man who broke the home we promised each other, and the man I never stopped hearing in empty kitchens at 2 a.m., even when I pretended I didn't. If you think that call was the beginning, you're wrong. It started on the night I walked out with a carry-on $800 and a secret heartbeat under my ribs. Back then, I lived in a glass penthouse that photographed better than it felt all marble floors and curated art I didn't choose, and my name was Mrs. Devi more than it was Camilla. Rowan's calendar ran, our marriage, his meetings, ate dinner, and my dreams of architecture sat quiet on a shelf. Because love is compromise, right? Love is waiting your turn. Love is believing the temporary will end soon. I had a reservation at the place where he proposed, a little velvet box with baby shoes and a smile I had rehearsed. And then his assistant texted to cancel. Mr. Devi is working late. Again. So I did the old newlywed thing. I brought his favorite tie and drove to his private office, I told myself. The smell of jasmine meant nothing. Told myself the music was just background. Told myself not to look through the door that wasn't fully closed. There he was, shirt open, hands in a woman's hair, the same woman he'd introduced as a partner 3 weeks earlier, while I poured wine and played hostess. She smiled like she owned the room and said, "She's lovely, just not very exciting." And he, my forever, looked at me the way a man looks at a problem he's tired of solving. "You stopped dreaming, Camilla," he said, and I felt something in me stop too. I left the rings on cold porcelain, packed a bag, bought a bus ticket to a city where nobody knew my face, and I promised the tiny life inside me that I would be brave for both of us. Atlanta took me in like a cousin you only meet in hard times. A shelter with soft lamps and rules that kept you safe, a Haitian auntie named Anouk, who ran a cafe like a ship, a nurse named Octavia, who said I could call at 3 a.m. if the world felt too loud. I worked breakfast at dawn, cleaned offices at night, sketched porches and kitchens at a card table between feedings, and when my boys came early, twins Matthew and Michael, they arrived in the back room of the cafe with strangers counting, and someone yelling for towels, and me laughing, crying, swearing I could do this. I signed the divorce papers at the cafe counter on my break. No fight for money, no headlines, just a single deep breath and a new last name, Morrow, and the quiet kind of grief that makes you organize your spices because something needs to be in order. Harbor Line. My tiny firm became Morrow Designs, a drafting table, a donated laptop, a phone that rang more often than you'd think because I said yes to budgets other people laughed at. I drew light into rooms where people felt like afterthoughts. I measured twice, cut once, and raised my sons on library cards and secondhand boots, and the idea that richness is character, not marble. Years passed the way years do, slowly while you're living them all at once when you look back. I taught my boys to tie ties before their voices dropped, and I kept a single wedding photo in a drawer. I almost never opened me in white him, in a suit, both of us looking like kids who believed love would do all the work. Then a Tuesday happened, and my receptionist mouthed line 3 with eyes that said I should sit down. A mix-up on a conference call for a tower renovation, the Devi Tower of all ironies, and my voice went out early while I walked aboard through a broken grid atrium and daylighting math, and on the other end of that crossed line Daniel froze. He called my office, left a message that sounded like a psalm breathing on the edge of water. "Camilla, it's Daniel. I heard you. I don't have the right to ask you for anything, but please, call me back." I didn't not that day. I let him wait the way I waited. Dinner going cold, mascara washed off the bed, an ocean. I crossed alone. 3 days later, he tried again. If you never speak to me, I'll understand. Hearing your voice was the most important thing that's happened to me in 20 years. I hope you're happy. It would have been easier if he sounded slick, if he came with excuses, if he tried to buy forgiveness with flowers and restaurants. He came with a tremor in his voice and nothing in his hands. I agreed to coffee, public place, 1 hour, no promises, and I wrote 5 conditions on a napkin. Because sorry isn't a strategy, sorry is a door you still have to walk through. 6 months at my firm as junior staff, not consultant, not savior. You make coffee, you print sets, you own your mistakes. 30, yes, 30 million to organizations that keep single mothers standing in my name, not yours. A public letter about your failure that doesn't make you a hero and doesn't make me a prop. Weekly therapy with my counselor, not your PR coach. And when you finish those, you meet the 2 people whose respect matters most to me, and you earn it not with gifts, with consistency. He read it, he nodded. He showed up 15 minutes early on day 1 with a legal pad and a cheap pen, and he didn't flinch when my team called him out. Didn't blink when a sub tried to sidestep our project lead, and he redirected him and asked for a corner office, just asked where the trash bags were and how we number our sheets. He donated the money. He wrote the letter that went viral. Not flashy, not self-congratulatory, just a man saying he traded gold for glitter and made someone pay for it. In therapy, he said words I didn't expect, like power and insecurity and fear, and he said them without a watch to check or a door to escape through. And then, in month 4, I drove him to a small house with a ficus I kept forgetting to water, and I told him the truth I had carried alone. The night I left you, I was pregnant. Sons, 2 of them in that living room right now. He didn't shout, didn't accuse, didn't make it about rights or bloodlines. He sat down like someone unplugged him and whispered, I missed everything. My boys interviewed him like a panel. Why did you cheat? What exactly have you changed if you hurt her again? What do you expect from us? And to his credit, he didn't dodge, didn't flirt, didn't flood the room with gifts. He answered. He listened. He left without asking for another minute. Respect isn't a speech, it's a calendar. You show up or you don't. He showed up when I collapsed from exhaustion 3 weeks later, when the ER doctor said my body was out of gas, and my ego needed to get out of the driver's seat, when the boys looked older than their years in plastic chairs. He cooked without posting it. He took calls for me without promising things he couldn't deliver. He learned how to be near without taking over, and the house felt like a place with 4 corners again. We worked the Devi Tower proposal side by side. Him careful not to overstep me, careful not to build walls thicker than concrete. And when we won that job in a room full of suits, I looked at my team first, at my sons second, at him last. On a rooftop after under bad string lights and a better moon, he said the only words that mattered. Not I need you, not I'll die without you. He said I will spend the rest of my life choosing the thing I failed to choose when it counted. And I wanted to believe him, but fear is a muscle that stays strong, so I went home alone. 3 nights later, I stood outside his building in the rain, soaked through no umbrella, because sometimes your body makes the choice before your mouth does. I am terrified, I told him when he opened the door with towel and worry of loving you, of being wrong about you twice. Then we go slow, he said. We build like we mean it. Good foundation, no shortcuts. And I said the thing I swore I'd never admit. I never stopped, and yeah, that happened. We didn't fix 20 years in one kiss. We started telling the truth without looking away. Since then, it hasn't been perfect. Therapy, still boundaries, still. The twins, still cracking jokes and delivering warnings. Lysandra trying one more round of pretty threats and getting bored when there was nothing left to leverage. We keep choosing, that's the point. Delegating at my firm so my health doesn't play chicken with my pride, donating quietly, when a shelter needs beds, showing up to a pickup game, when Michael texts last minute, reading Matthew's law essays like they are maps, arguing about dishwashers and forgiveness, and who takes the 7 a.m. meeting when the night ran long. We haven't promised forever on paper again, not yet, but the work looks like something I can stand on. So tell me, because I know how split a room can get on this. Is forgiveness a luxury for people with soft landings, or is it the only way any of us stop being defined by our worst day? Was I wrong to let a man earn his way back after 2 decades, or right to set terms and make him sweat? Would you take the coffee, write the napkin, open the door in the rain? Or would you lock it and sleep like a person who finally picked herself? Drop your city, drop your take, argue with me if you need to. If you believe glitter fades and gold endures, hit subscribe. And if you've lived a version of this, betrayal, rebuilding, second chance, or no chance, tell it in the comments. I'll be there with tea, rooting for your kind of brave.